Hey Mike, I heard you had some new info on Bigfoot and the Native Americans. You want to share that?
Yeah, well, what it is we had, well, I should probably say first that we had reason to believe that the local Indians would know something about Bigfoot because we found out there were people still seeing him right up to the present day. And we found out that there was a history, at least archival, about people seeing hairy white men in this area, the gold miners, the lumber barons, and so forth. So with that in mind, we started to do research on the Ohlone Indians. And every year they have an event over at the state park, which is actually just a stone's throw from here. I can see the main entrance to the state park out the front window. And there's a big sign that goes on the log out there every year that says Ohlone Days. And they'll have a couple of days of events where they feature people of the Ohlone tribe who come and share some of their native crafts and show examples of what their lifestyle was back here in Santa Cruz, 200 or 300 years ago. And so I have on a couple of occasions gone to the Ohlone Day event where I've sought out elder tribe members there to ask them if they can tell us about the local Ohlones and if they had a word for Bigfoot or had some knowledge of Bigfoot in some way. And all the times I tried, I couldn't get any information because the people said, well, there's only a few people left in our tribe who even know the language, and we don't have any of those people here at our event. I'm sorry. They might be able to help you or know some words, but we can't really help. So I kind of gave up on that for a while, and then Kathy Strain wrote this book a couple of years ago. This was published, and she has in here 130 Native American tribal stories where they tell their stories of Bigfoot and their legends about Bigfoot. And so I wrote to Kathy thinking, well, Kathy could probably help me out because she's been doing so much of this research lately. And Kathy is, let's see here, she is currently the Forest Heritage Resource and Tribal Relations Program Manager for the Stanislaus National Forest. Kathy has been a professional archaeologist, anthropologist for 20 years and has conducted research and fieldwork on hairy men for nearly as long. So also Kathy's husband saw Bigfoot a couple of times when he was hunting. So she knows they're out there. And that's why she went ahead and wrote this book. And so I wrote to Kathy and I asked her about the Ohlones. And she sent me back an email. I have a copy of it here. And what essentially she says here is that the Ohlones had a word, chuntana, which translates to a huge woodland ogress with a simple mentality and a fondness for the flesh of human beings. Well, this correlates to the Sonequa of the Kwakiutl Indians up in British Columbia. They had a being that they told to the children. It was the cannibal woman who would put them in a basket on her back, take them home, and eat them if they didn't stay close to the campfire at night. So here is the Santa Cruz Indians' version of the same thing, the cannibal woman, and up in British Columbia they make totems and masks relating to it. Here's a totem, and on the cover there is the mask. They always have this monkey-like mouth position, and they always show them as a female. Well, and then down here she mentions Takakuna as the personal name of a Bigfoot that lived in Chukchano, which essentially is the flat area where Felton was built. So a couple hundred years ago, the Ohlone Indians referred to the Bigfoot that lived here in Felton, where our museum is, as Takakuna. And another coincidence, I don't know for sure what the Ohlone translation of that word is, but I had a Peruvian Indian woman in here last summer visiting, and she said that in her native tongue, the word Takakuna would translate to a powerful person. And I think most people think of Bigfoot as powerful. Now, there's another connection here that I want to bring up that ties in with all this. And this was just a few weeks ago. They had the latest Ohlone Day here in Santa Cruz. And I wasn't able to go this time. I stayed here at the museum. And that day, a man walked into the museum, and it turns out that his name was Calvin Spotted Elk, and he is a Lakota Sioux Indian, and he happens to be the great-great-great-grandson of an Indian war chief who was killed at the Battle of Wounded Knee, who was a general in the Indian Army, so to speak, and who gave the cavalry a heck of a bad time. And the cavalry referred to Spotted Elk as Bigfoot because they would see his tracks. And he had large feet, and he was a very tall Indian man. And Calvin Spotted Elk, the man who came in, was also a tall Indian man. And you could spot him a mile away. He's a very majestic-looking gentleman, a fine example of his race. And I was very glad to meet him, and we swapped a few Bigfoot stories. I told him some of our local stories, and he mentioned that, what his people thought about Bigfoot as a harbinger, and this, that, and the other thing. And it was just kind of neat to meet him. And I want to bring that up because I want to point out that he is now making an attempt, with the help of several lawyers, to go petition the government to give him back some of his family possessions that were taken at the Battle of Wounded Knee and in the course of the Indian Wars, and to restore the good name of his family, because, as I said earlier, his great-great-great-great-grandfather was a general in the Indian Wars. And now, when we no longer think of it in the racist way that we did back when we had the wars, and we realize that they are people too and have rights, this man should be given a place of honor as a resting place, as a general amongst Indians, and honored as such. And if you go to their website, which is called Hakela, Hakela, HakelaTheMovie.com, you can find the information about Calvin Spotted Elk. He also has a Facebook page. And I would say, if you can, take a look, and maybe they could use a little financial help. Maybe you'd want to help with that.